Hey everybody, it's Clay from crowdfundinghacks.com. I am here with my good friend Tyson Adams, Indiegogo expert extraordinaire. How you doing, Tyson? How you doing this
Good,
morning? What are you
good,
drinking?
good.
I have my big cup of coffee here.
Yeah, I also have some coffee. I love specialty coffee, so it's a little local roaster here in Seattle. That's where I'm at. So yeah,
Nice.
it's delicious.
Yeah, I got the quality coffee. Yeah, we there's some good coffee in San Diego. There's a place called Ironsmith, which we've gotten to know, but it's way over in Encinitas. So unless we go for a drive, we usually get the good coffee mailed to us, and then we grind it up every morning. So
Nice, nice.
good quality coffee is key, and you can talk a little bit more about that in a second.
Yeah,
So tell the people how we met. We met at Misfit, right? Years ago, many years
yeah.
ago.
About 2 years ago, a little bit more than 2 years ago, we met at Misfit Con in Fargo. Of course, I think we both knew about each other through that community, but that was the first time we connected. And I came up to you saying, "Hey, I want to launch a a crowdfunding campaign to do coconut oil of all things." And you were still thinking about Jai Coffee House at the time, so it was kind of a funny moment.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we chatted because we had talked about Jai, right? We had a couple calls when you did Jai. So tell the people how many how many crowdfunding campaigns have you done total?
Yeah, I've done. This is my sixth one. Yeah, and the first five were all through Jai Coffee House, which is a social business. Well, it's a nonprofit social business that's located in Laos in Southeast Asia. And so the first five were with Jai Coffee House. And now this one is with Zuddah, which is my new coconut oil business that I've just started.
Yeah. So tell the people like about Jai, what it is, how you got there, how you found it, like the backstory of you and Jai and the whole thing.
Yeah, yeah. I'll tell a little bit about that because that also segues right into the coconut oil thing. So basically, I won a contest through the Misfit community to basically fund my dream, which was to build this coffee roaster and cafe in the middle of the jungle in Laos. We have a lot of tourists flowing through, and then basically all the profits of the cafe we would reinvest back into clean water and hygiene programs in the local community. So basically reinvesting into the school systems that these kids were attending, who then of course grow up and become farmers themselves. And so the first campaign I ever did, you and I connected, and we ended up raising $15,000, which was great. The goal was only 10,000, and so we exceeded that. And that was really the seed money necessary to go and renovate this old building in the middle of the jungle and create it into a beautiful art space, and it's become really successful ever since.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're a great example. I mean, 6 crowdfunding campaigns, not many people do 1 or 2, and you've done 6, and you figure out what works, and it's proof that as you build your tribe and build your community, you can go back to the well, no pun intended, to go with smaller goals. You're not trying to raise $1 million every time. You have small goals, and then you take that money and do things like renovate the Jai Coffee House, which then is a sustainable thing in and of itself. And I think one of the things we talked about and one of the things you learned is it's not just about the cause. It's not just about the, hey, I'm doing this halfway across the world, please give me money to help. You put a lot of time and effort into understanding the rewards and what people get in exchange for their contribution, correct? You had the cool Jai Coffee House, the t-shirt you're wearing now.
Yep.
Jai represent, really cool design, great stuff. And you had that across a whole bunch of products, right? T-shirts, cups, mugs, all sorts of stuff, right?
Correct. I think rewards are an important piece, and especially if you're trying to run, whether it's nonprofit or sort of cause-related campaigns, a lot of people don't realize that you do have to give something in exchange for people to help. I mean, you don't have to, but you'll be far more successful if you put in the time and energy to actually put out something that actually works. And I still see people today on Facebook all the time, a year and a half since we ran our campaign, wearing Jai shirts because they love them. So the point is make art, give it away, and your brand is going to have that much more stickiness in the long term.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important what you said about the fact that people are still wearing them is a testament to both the design and the quality of the shirt and the story. So people want to represent that. I think often, even though like your brand is prominent on there with Jai, there's a story behind the brand, and what the shirt actually does is it gives the reason a person to, if some stranger stops and asks them, hey, what's Jai Coffee House, they get to tell your story. So you have these hundreds of people wearing the shirts out in the, in the world telling your story, which is great. And the key is to package up that portable story so that they can go forth in the world and do that. But the other thing is, this is not a boxy square tee with some generic brand. You went high quality on the t-shirts, high quality on the design, and it's something that when people look through their drawers, right? We all do that. We open our closet, we look at our drawers, and we decide which t-shirt to grab. We always grab the t-shirts we love, the soft, the buttery, the American Apparel, that kind of thing. So when you were traveling, you noticed something as you were doing the Jai Coffee House, and you fell in love with a particular product. Why don't you tell people about that?
Yeah. So when you're in Southeast Asia, especially Thailand, what you basically see is coconuts everywhere. Coconut milk, coconut water. You see people drinking out of coconuts. And coconut oil is their main cooking oil, which is far better for you, in fact, than any other cooking oil that you can buy, whether it's canola or olive oil or soy or any of those sorts of things. And so I started to get in tune with coconut oil, and then I was like, well, what are the benefits of this stuff? So I looked it up online, and I realized, wow, this stuff's amazing. So I ended up, authoring a quick little short 30-page book, and I launched that on Amazon and just dropped it in, sold it for $3, but I wanted to just see how it would do, and it created a little bit of passive income. I make about $1,000 on it a year, which is, it's not a lot, but it was my first dabble in, creating sort of a business model that would pay me, without me actually doing anything after I launched it. And so becoming an expert at coconut oil, I started to realize, well, great, this is wonderful to sell a digital good, but unless you're putting out more digital goods, you're going to need to continue finding new customers. So that was when it kind of clicked for me, and I was like, wow, well, if you take a consumable like coconut oil itself, and if you gain a customer and that customer becomes loyal to your product line, well, then they're going to be buying from you forever. And so I literally just started walking around the streets of Bangkok trying to find coconut oil, different types of coconut oil. So I went into the grocery store and basically bought every brand I could find and just started making calls until I could figure out who these people were, and I started meeting with them, and I ended up discovering what is actually the best coconut oil that exists, which is being produced and manufactured in Thailand, and developed a relationship with the manufacturer.
That's awesome. Tell us a little bit more about like the thing that caused you to be interested in it. So you saw coconuts everywhere. You realized this thing. You did a little bit of research. Like, what made you decide, hey, I actually want not to just consume this, but I want to go into business? Like, what was the thing that made you? Was it the health angle? I know you're a very healthy guy. You work out and stuff like that. Like, what was it about coconut oil that made you say, hey, there's something here? Yeah,
there's two primary things that kind of sold me on coconut oil, and they were both personal applications. The first one is that I have, since I was in high school, maybe even middle school probably, because I was, basically a zitty little, teenager with bad oily skin, and
like all of us, right?
Yeah, exactly, right. And so you get into your adulthood and you're like, okay, is this ever going to go away? And so for whatever reason, I ran into this article that was like, coconut oil is good for your skin, and even though it's oil, it actually is antibacterial, microbial, and fungal, and so it actually makes your skin not oily. And I was like, well, that makes like no sense to me to put oil on my skin when my skin's oily. However, I tried it and really had amazing the application of it went on great, and it actually dried a lot faster than I expected, and my skin actually turned around in a matter of months from having zits once or twice to basically clearing up. And I was actually so shocked about it. I was like, everybody needs to know about this. This is ridiculous. This is amazing. And then the second thing is that I started reading a lot about how coconut oil is wonderful for endurance and basically for working out. And I was like, well, that seems really interesting. So I started doing a deep dive, and basically what happens when you eat coconut oil, it bypasses your digestion and it gets processed in your liver, and therefore it immediately translates and is converted into energy. And so I started reading all these scientific studies, and like they tested on mice, and I actually found that mice that are given coconut oil can swim twice as long as mice that don't have any coconut oil. And then I even found this article that said that in the late 90s, the Olympic Committee almost banned coconut oil as a performance enhancer in the Olympic Games because people were seeing such great benefits from it, but they couldn't do it because it was an organic, natural product.
Sure.
So what I started to do is, because I'm a rock climber, I just started to do experiments. So I would basically take the coconut oil, I would take a spoonful of it, I would eat it, or I would throw it in my coffee, and then I would basically mix it up, and I would, compare what my sort of stamina was at rock climbing. And I just saw a remarkable sort of boost, both in my cognitive boost in my energy, but also my body would just have better stamina through the entire workouts. So I was like, holy shit, I'm pretty much sold, because it's affecting me in these two super highly positive ways. So this seems like a good business that I want to be in.
Yeah, that's great. There's nothing like hearing stuff that may be true, right? And with the media and with the press, there's a lot of that stuff out there, but then testing it yourself, knowing that, and if you wouldn't have experienced, improved skin, if you wouldn't have experienced the increased endurance and things like that, you probably would have just, understood that. I think the lesson there for everyone else is, test everything, right? Like, test what you do. If you hear things from, whether it's from the press or from articles or from magazines or anyone else, do what Tyson did and take that information and then test it on yourself, because some things work for some people and some things don't work for other people. So at this point you had, 5 Indiegogo campaigns under your belt. You're in love with coconut oil. You started researching and you realized that in Southeast Asia and in Thailand, there's a lot of coconuts, a lot of coconut oil, but it's not all, kind of like in the US, we were just talking at the beginning about really great quality coffee and sort of the third wave coffee movement that's happened in the US over the last 5 years, right? Starbucks got us to pay $3 for a cup of black coffee, and then over the last few years we've upped the game even more. The people that really care about coffee and roasting and beans and high end and espresso and things like that. Tell us a little bit about what you found with how a lot of the coconut stuff is processed, and then tell us a little bit about your new venture and what that's called.
Yeah, so actually something that I haven't shared with you, Clay, that my business partner and I just found on the FDA website recently, coconut oil specifically, but also a few other oils, including olive oil. The FDA only requires that the oil itself is 80% what it says it is. So it can be actually 20% of whatever else that they're putting in it. And one of the interesting things about coconut oil is that, when most of it's coming out of the Philippines, but when you get it and you open it up and you smell it, you're like, whoa, that is some strong shit. And you taste it and you get the same response. Now, some people, they enjoy that or they like that, but other people are completely offended by it, and it's way too powerful for them to apply it to their skin or to cook with it, because it ruins a lot of their dishes. So what's happened over time is, as the demand of coconut oil in America has just skyrocketed, the quality control has just gotten so low. I know for a fact, because of dealing with my coconut manufacturer in Thailand, that a number of years ago the quality was far superior to what it is today, but because of demand, it's actually the quality control has gotten less, and it's an extremely unregulated market, or an unregulated product in manufacturing process. So most of these coconut oils that are what is labeled cold pressed, they're basically being heated at super high temperatures, anywhere from 175 to 200 plus degrees. So it's essentially like cooking your oil before you cook with it again. So you're essentially pasteurizing it, and then that's creating that really strong smell and flavor, and it's not necessary. I mean, the reason why this is happening is because a lot of these coconut oil manufacturers are literally cracking coconuts open, and then they're storing them in chlorinated water for 6 to 12 hours, or just letting them sit in the sun until their manufacturer, their machines can turn back on and their employees can come back in from the day before. And so you end up having a situation where, coconuts themselves are being heated to excessive heats that it's completely unnecessary, and it's also creating a really unfavorable taste and smell.
And so the chlorinated water thing, I just want to, make sure I understand that. So that's like people taking coconuts and throwing them in basically a swimming pool, like chlorinated water, overnight to keep them from spoiling until they come back the next day, sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And unfortunately, we wanted to get footage of this, but manufacturers don't really let you into their factories.
Wow,
However,
big shock.
I know, but my supplier, he's been to a number of factories in different countries, and he's witnessed this himself. Of course, he couldn't take any pictures, but he's witnessing this experience where, yeah, they need to preserve the fruit. What's the best way? They soak them in chlorine and then they wash them off, of course. But then, of course, heating those coconuts to press them to high heats is also, I would assume, and he would assume, likely to burn off the chlorinated water that's present in the coconut.
Yeah, sure. So your coconut's not like a swimming pool.
Yeah.
It sounds like the raw cold processed is much better. So tell us about Zuddah. You just recently launched your latest, your number 6 Indiegogo campaign. It's rocking. You're over $4,000 already in 2 days. Pretty awesome. Tell us about that. Tell us about from the moment, because you basically are an Indiegogo expert. You've done it 5-6 times before, or 5. This is your 6th one. You've been there, done that, and so you saw this opportunity. I think you've put more thought and planning into this one than into the prior 5. Is that fair to say? Like, you really approached this like a project. Can you tell people kind of from the moment where you decided this should be number 6, this should be my next Indiegogo campaign, what's some of the early planning you do? Because I think a lot of the people I talk to, they don't think about the early planning. They think that if they just slap something up on Kickstarter or Indiegogo, magically it's going to get funded, because the press only talks about the $1 million and the huge campaigns and the crazy potato salad campaigns and things like that. What you understand that this is a process and a project with a plan. Can you walk people through a little bit of what you did with the pre-planning and how you started to do this? Because you really approached this much more with a concerted effort.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the first question, even before the planning, is why crowdfund a coconut oil product that we're going to end up selling on Amazon in the first place? And I think that there's 2 reasons. First of all, it's super expensive to buy a minimum order of coconut oil and ship it around the world. And so we wanted to offset some of those costs by pre-selling the product. The second thing is that we already have 80 plus backers. So we have 80 people and their emails, and we're only 2 days in. By the time we're done, we may have 250 or who knows, 300, 400, backers. So when we launch our product from, basically funding it on Indiegogo to Amazon, well, now we can basically hit everybody up with a video message or personal tweet, or even just straight calling them. Some people provide their phone numbers and saying, hey, we're on Amazon now, would you please go there and leave us a message, or leave us a review. And then what ends up happening is that we go from not existing in the Amazon store to being on page 1. And once we're on page 1, we'll be selling about 300 jars of coconut oil per day. So that's the reason why we decided to crowdfund, which is to essentially get a bunch of people out there who love the product and who like it, and then, of course, then transition them over to a new sales funnel where they're going to actually fulfill their orders.
Right.
So the pre-planning for this was geared at who is our customer. Okay, so the very first thing that I needed to understand was, who is buying coconut oil, and therefore, how are we going to create a brand around that particular customer? So what I did was I have a virtual assistant that's located in Nepal. His name's Deepak. He's a super great guy. I basically hired him to go into Amazon and look at the top 3 selling coconut oil manufacturers that are there. And then basically look at the 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, 4-star, and 5-star reviews and pull out what things people are saying. So the diversity of things, all the way from the good things all the way through the bad things. And then also to put their name, their age, and their sex, so that we could essentially create what we believed was our target market. What we found out was that one of the brands was 75% women living reviews. One of the brands was 79%, and the other one was like 85%. So basically, wow, from 75 to 85% women are purchasing coconut oil on Amazon and leaving reviews, or at least leaving reviews. So you would assume that that would also be them. They are the primary shoppers in that space. Okay, so then we then took that information and backfed it into the whole design process. So if you're going to create a new product, who are you going to try to sell it to. So one of the things that we also saw on Amazon is that most coconut oils, they look like medicine. They are kind of geared towards, this is what you need to do for weight loss, or this is whatever. It just, they don't look beautiful. And one of the things that we know about coconut oil is that it's in addition to a food product, it's a beauty product. Women love it for skincare, putting it on their legs after shaving. They use it as a makeup remover or a primer. It's also natural SPF. It even is a wonderful sex lubricant, of course. So what's great about it, or what's great about Zuddah is that we took that information and thought about it from the perspective of, okay, we need to make something that's beautiful and something that's not medicine looking. So what we wanted was a talking piece, so that when your friends or family came over, you would leave it on the counter, or you would put it on the bathroom counter, leave it on the counter in the kitchen so that somebody would ask about it, or you would leave it on the counter in your bathroom and you wouldn't put it away at the end of the day because it looked so beautiful that you enjoyed seeing it.
Sure.
So those were the things that were kind of like pre-planning for the campaign itself, that were more about the design of the brand and what we wanted to achieve in the long run.
Yeah, that's great. I think I want to go back to the point you made about understanding who your customer is, because that's a part that so many people shortcut, is just wanting to slap it up, wanting to say, what's the shortcut? How do I do Facebook ads or whatever? And they don't pause and do exactly what you did and say, who is my customer? Not just, what the stuff you did is amazing. And the way that you did it is super smart too, right? Everyone wants to ask a guru for a shortcut. What's the answer? What's the answer? And what you did is, I'm going to, use a smart process. It's simple, right? You worked with Deepak. It wasn't a lot of work, wasn't an extreme amount of time. But you said, who's buying coconut oil? Who's leaving comments, right? Before doing that, I imagine you didn't know that it was 80% women. You might have thought it was maybe 50-50, or maybe you knew that it was potentially maybe more women, but 75 to 80% is a huge percentage. That informs the rest of your marketing. So key takeaway there, understand who your customer is, build out a customer avatar, name, age, city, demographics, like build out a fake person, like an avatar, like an actual person. And then talk about not just their demographics, but their psychographics, their hopes and fears and dreams, and what do they want, and are they using coconut oil because it's healthy for their family? Are they using coconut oil for their skin, et cetera, et cetera? So it's really, really good point, and you're a great marketer, and that's what great marketers do, is they ask the right questions and then they go do the research, as opposed to just asking a guru for a shortcut. And then the design, I think that's brilliant. I mean, Airbnb is a massive multi-billion-dollar company, but it's essentially VRBO with a few changes with much better design. And I think you make a really good point about most coconut oil design has this sort of almost clinical feel to it, or it's not anything gorgeous or something people would want to leave out. So I love how you used a more beautiful brand around that. So how did you, given that you've done Indiegogo before, how did you decide how you're going to reach the people, when you launch, and then tell them a little. We'll wrap up the first. This is the first of 4 episodes that we're going to do with Tyson. His campaign is live. Go to zuddah.organic, right, Tyson, or go to Zuddah Organic. If you just Google that, you'll get to the Indiegogo campaign, but zuddah.organic, or on Facebook or Twitter, easy to get to the Indiegogo. But this is the first of 4 episodes we're going to do with Tyson throughout the campaign. This is a behind the scenes. But to wrap up this first one, I want Tyson to talk about the video, talk about the pre-launch, and then talk about the launch party, because I think that's something that more people have an opportunity to do and don't really think about. But I think the launch party was really brilliant, and how you sort of had people come and deal with the product in person.
Yeah, so should we just do the video first real quick?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Okay, so basically what I ended up doing was hiring a guy to meet me in Bangkok so that we could actually take farm and factory footage, so that you could actually see transparency into whatever it is you're getting. So, the way in which I would relate that to whoever it is out there that's watching this is that there is a manufacturing process that takes place, and whether that's taking place in a different country or not, whether you can visit or not, who knows? Excuse me. But getting somebody to take some footage is really important to showcase in your video, in my opinion, because people want to see what it is you're doing and why you're claiming that you're better, or you have some strategy or whatever. So I would recommend that having that insider footage is great. The second thing is a lot about what you and I talked about, Clay, which is that first and foremost, to grab somebody's attention, you have to expose the industry in some way. So I even think I could have done a better job with it now that I look back, but I think that I did an okay job, which was basically to show some footage that I found on YouTube of some pretty nasty factories that are producing coconut oil. It immediately grabs you and pulls you in saying, oh, that's kind of gross looking. And then, of course, when you get to the Zuddah factory, you start to see, wow, okay, there is a much more beautiful way, or not beautiful, but a much more clean and professional way to produce coconut oil. So that transparency is super important. And then, of course, keeping the video very short. Ours ended up being just under 3 minutes. I would have loved for it to have been 2 minutes, but I think that it's important to understand that these are like Kickstarter Indiegogo videos are more like little commercials, to be honest. Mm-hmm. But they're more like movement commercials. They're more like, let's get behind this and march together. And I think that when you can do that, that's when it's going to be successful. And I know you probably plugged this into your own community, but the 10-year hoodie is a great example of that you and I basically tried to mimic with Zuddah, and I think I did about a half good job on it. And then if I were to redo it, I would certainly have mimicked it even more. But I think that that's a really good one to show that there's a movement, and it first exposes the industry.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. Like Jake was able to both his product and your product, in that case, exposing the industry was a key part of it. And I think in any video, it's about why are you doing this? And his why and your why is both sort of exposing an industry. In his case, the 10-year hoodie was fast fashion, $8 blouses and $25 hoodies that fall apart. Why don't you buy an $80 hoodie that lasts forever, lasts for 10 years and send it back? And in your case, it's coconut oil. Tell us, so before we wrap, I do want to show, if you want to show your screen, show the campaign, talk a little bit about the rewards. We'll dig into this a little bit more next time. We'll dig into this a lot more next time, but let's show the campaign and you can explain, because one thing that I am very impressed with you is when I look at basically the prices of coconut oil, one thing I implore my students and people who do crowdfunding to price your product what I call below MSRP. So it should be priced less than what you might be able to get it for elsewhere in the world, whether that be Amazon or Zappos or some other e-commerce thing. And I think your coconut oil is priced extremely well and competitively. All right, that's amazing. You're almost at $4,000 in just 3 days. So that's awesome. Definitely going to hit that $10,000 goal, likely maybe over the weekend or maybe next week for sure. So that's great. Yeah, talk a little bit about the product itself. Maybe next time we'll definitely go deeper on this, but I do want you to show the campaign and talk about the price and the coconut oil and things like that.
Cool. Yeah, so you and I worked on this headline, the world's best coconut oil. Now, it seems a little bit in your face, but because we know our manufacturing process is far superior to what exists out there, it actually is something that we can claim. In fact, Bruce Fife, who's a world expert on coconut oils, visited our factory amongst other factories all over Southeast Asia and the Philippines, and he actually told us that. So in a lot of ways, he doesn't provide testimonials to back coconut oil products because he owns a nonprofit, but he has told us that we have the best, purest coconut oil that he's ever seen. So in a lot of ways we could say that and actually back it up, but I think that is kind of a in-your-face headline. But I think that that's what people need to see, because when you're tweeting and when you're posting this stuff on Facebook, it needs to grab your attention, and that's what the headline does. As far as the rewards, basically, we have kind of just a $1 reward, which is a celebrity chef. She's Ariane Resnick is a celebrity chef for Gwyneth Paltrow. So that's more just a, hey, back us, and you can snag this cool recipe.
I want to stop you there just one sec, because that's an important point. What most people do wrong in crowdfunding is at that level, at the first reward level, they say, give us $10 and we'll love you forever, or thank you so much, or you'll be in our hearts, or we'll tweet your name from our crappy little Twitter account that we started a month ago. Nobody cares about that. Do what Tyson did here instead. add value, give them something useful. In this case, a really cool chocolate avocado pudding recipe made with Zuddah coconut oil. So a cool recipe from a celebrity chef. So if someone finishes your video, looks at your status box, and then is looking at your rewards, they're basically deciding whether to back it or not. I just want to focus on the change in whether somebody's going to back it or not has a lot to do with what they think about your first reward level. And I guarantee you, everyone does the $10 thank you, and it never works. Go look, and it's always like, oh, 5 people backed that, or 10 people backed that. And basically, you pissed off everybody else. What you don't see is all the people that closed the tab because you're asking for $10 and offering them nothing. In this case, Tyson is asking for $1 and offering them something really cool, a custom recipe from this famous chef. So that's a key point that I want to focus on. So you can keep going.
Yeah. And with every reward, we offer that recipe. And so most people are not even going to go for the recipe. They're going to jump to at least a jar of Zuddah because really they know that they're going to get the recipe anyways. And so that's, why we did that. Plus, it's connecting ourselves to a really high-end celebrity chef who's been on TV and who, of course, has her own community that, is excited about pushing us. And she's also one of our testimonials below. Yep. Let's see here. We have a blind taste test challenge here. That's a good video. It looks like somehow, though, Indiegogo screwed this up and is pulling in our wrong video. I need to fix this today. That's something that happened overnight. I don't know. That's not my fault.
That's a good point, too. I want to just note for people that your campaign description section is something that you can edit after your campaign goes live. So you can constantly be editing that. Tyson just noticed that it's pulling in the wrong video there. It's weird because I noticed that it was the correct video earlier, so I don't know what happened there. Talk about, because the next level down after the $1 is really important, and people sort of read down the reward levels. I know we have to wrap up in just a couple minutes here, but I think it's amazing that $15, 1 jar of Zuddah coconut oil. I mean, coconut oil tends to cost more than that elsewhere, and this is the best in the world, free shipping, et cetera, et cetera. But I love how the jump is only from 1 to 15, and then you get the actual product.
Correct. Yeah, and the shipping's included on that. And this one at 3 jars, which is $43, then you get a $2 discount. So that kind of incentivizes somebody to take even a little bit of a further jump. And jumping to the no-brainer option, which is your favorite kind of headline, that's where we pack the most punch. We actually include a jar of Zuddah coconut flower nectar and a Zuddah apron, and I can show you that reward below. But what happens at the $74 price point is you're basically funneling all of your excitement to a price point that's a little bit higher than what people would maybe spend normally on a campaign. They maybe would do only the $43 one, or just buy a jar. But because there's new perks there that they can't get anywhere else, then it kind of funnels them to that spot so that they would buy at the $74 price point.
Yeah, that's great. And I love the psychology of funneling them down to this kind of no-brainer. You're getting, 4 jars of coconut oil, 1 jar of the flower nectar, which is like a honey type substance made from coconuts, the apron, the whole thing. It's like the everything in the kitchen sink level. And so if someone's going to spend $15, $74 is not that much more. So I like that strategy a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then the next price points for 111 and 207 are basically just doubling it, taking it to 6 jars and 12 jars, and then to 24 jars. So not a lot of additional things are added in. We wanted to keep it more simple. Yep. But like for my grandma, who is a coconut oil just craze, like she loves it so much, she went for the $3.98 because she's just like, I go through this, a ton. So right. There are people that wanted to bump it up a little bit. Let's see here. And then this one is not something that we anticipate anybody taking advantage of unless they are just an absolute coconut oil, just, crazy person that has the ability to throw some money around. But basically, we're inviting them to come to see the factory in person. And I hope somebody takes us up on it, because
you better beware. If someone buys that, they might be your newest competitor, right? Come learn learn the secrets, right?
We'll have them sign an NDA for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
And a non-compete.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And then what we have here, as far as our process, we have a really nice infographic that kind of describes why we're different and better. We built a nice little reward sheet here that kind of shows it visually what our rewards are, which is
reward level infographic. That's great.
Yeah, and then
I actually want to go deep on the campaign description section next time, so let's hold off on that for now, and we'll really go, because you put a lot of thought and effort and design into both the copy and the design of that, so I want to go deep on that next time. I know you have another call starting at the top of the hour, and so do I, so we'll wrap this one up. I wanted to say thank you so much, Tyson, for really just pulling back the curtain, exposing everything behind the planning of this. This is your 6th Indiegogo campaign. You're definitely an expert, and this is the first of 4. We're going to do 4 of these once every week with Tyson throughout his campaign, and I'm really excited to show everybody the rest of what he's doing. Next time we're going to get into a little bit more the marketing, the planning. He's working a lot with bloggers, taking that nugget of how he found his core customer and then expanding that to reach more people, talking about Facebook ads, emails, and everything else. So next time we're going to go deeper on the marketing, deeper on the campaign itself. Maybe we'll even go deeper on the video. But I wanted to say thanks, Tyson, and excited to do this again next week.
Yeah, thanks, Clay. Appreciate it.
Talk soon.
All right, man. Peace.